Well ahead of the three-day mega Startup Mahakumbh event, ET now caught up with the DPIIT Sekhi Rajesh Kumar Singh to understand what the event really means for the startup ecosystem. He also spoke of the EFTA deal, the Tesla India entry and fintechs. Listen to this conversation.
India has signed a trade deal with AFTA, European Free Trade Association. At the same time, a lot is happening in India's manufacturing sector and startup sector. A lot to discuss, and today we are joined by Mr. RK Singh, who is Secretary DPIIT, to discuss all that and much more. Welcome to ET Now, sir. Let's begin by AFTA, which was signed yesterday. Can you tell us how is it going to benefit India and the region or the countries it has been signed with, and also how it provides a template for deals of this nature in future?
So, yeah, its significance, of course, is that it is an arrangement or a trade agreement with a group of developed countries with which we have certain complementarities which can help both our respective economies. The big advantage for India out of this arrangement is that while they get access to a vast Indian market, for the first time in any FTA, there is an investment commitment of $100 billion over 15 years on their part to invest in our manufacturing and our various other productive sectors. So, there is a clear quid pro quo. There is even an arrangement that if they don't meet their investment commitments, some of the tariff concessions that we have given could even be clawed back. So, in that sense, it is a real trendsetter when it comes to a trade agreement of this kind with a developed nation. And obviously, it will create a strong kind of a template to adopt in respect of similar trade negotiations with other developed countries.
So it will entail commitment of, it has going to $100 billion investment commitment. But talking of FDI in general, last calendar year, FDI has come down by 21%. What are you going to do so that the FDI increases?
So, the one part of the story is, of course, that FDI per se is something that will go up and down depending on geopolitical factors, macroeconomic factors in other countries. Right now, the issue is a combination of geopolitical risk because of instability at due to two ongoing conflicts. Also, there is a sticky inflation in the developed countries, which has led to fairly high interest rates in many of these countries, as a result of which some of the FDI outflows have been affected. But what we are intent to do is to ensure that the trend rate of increase in FDI into India, as you know, almost 65% of FDI that has cumulatively come to India since independence, 65% of it has come only in the last 9 years. So, our intention is to keep up our focus on ease of doing business, on further relaxing FDI, of which an example you saw very recently when we created a more enhanced, more liberalized FDI sectoral ceilings for the space sector. So, that focus on reforms and EODB, along with, of course, our investments in our logistics space and our infrastructure space will continue, and we feel that will continue to make India one of the most attractive FDI destinations in the world.
And talking of FDI, one important investment we always keep on hearing about is from Tesla. Is actually not come so far, but every now and then there are talks about Tesla coming or not coming. Any special treatment will you give to Tesla? What about the negotiations which they always wanted to have?
So, India never provides tailored or curated packages for any specific company, and it will not do so. If there is a policy which is designed to attract FDI in the EV space, it will be for all investors, subject to our whatever security and other consideration that we may have. Therefore, I want to emphasize that while there will not be any curated or tailored policy, we will continue to liberalize our FDI space and continue to focus on the EV space as a broader strategy to manage our energy transition and to reduce the import dependence on imported crude that this country is afflicted with.
And one of the important sector which our government always focuses on is startup sector. And Startup Mahakumbh is coming one such event. How is it going to put more impetus or importance to the startup sector of India?
So, this government's focus has been that when we do events, whether it is the Bharat Techs that we did recently or the Bharat Mobility that we did recently, we intend to make these the biggest shows in the world of this type. With the Startup Mahakumbh, our ambition is something similar. The idea is to make it one of the largest gathering of startup ecosystem stakeholders anywhere in the world. We intend to do it from March 18th to 20th at the prestigious Bharat Mandapam. It will be spearheaded by the industry itself, by ASSOCHAM, NASSCOM, IVCA and various other startup ecosystem stakeholders. They are leading it. Government is supporting it from the back end in terms of facilitating it and trying to ensure that, as I said, this becomes one of the largest sort of confluence of stakeholders in the startup ecosystem, the venture capitalists, the family offices, the incubators, the accelerators, and of course, all of our startups, 1,20,000 strong. We expect a good smattering of them there. We also want to keep it open to the public and to the student community so that they can visit, see and get inspired about how India is increasingly becoming a nation not of job seekers, but of job creators, and the economy is increasingly becoming an innovation-led economy and not just a government-led or a corporate sector-led economy.
And how is it going to further increase India's importance in international arena when it comes to promoting the startup ecosystem in the country?
So, we keep talking about India being the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have some 1,20,000 startups recognized on DPIIT's portal. The actual number would be far bigger because there are many which graduate out of that or they've become so big that they are no longer fitting the definition of startups. We also have, as you know, 117 odd startups. We have a very inclusive startup community with a large number of almost 43% of our startups have at least one woman director. We've created through some of our funding schemes, particularly the seed fund scheme and the fund of funds scheme, we've tried to meet the funding gaps that some of these early startups face, and we've also created through a procurement window on the government e-marketplace for startups. So, all these are designed to provide further dynamism to the startup ecosystem of the country, and our intention in this conference or Startup Mahakumbh is to really showcase India as a place where the startup ecosystem has really grown. We are the third largest, and our intention is through this showcase to sort of give a commitment and a target that in a few years we should be number one.
And apart from that, what other steps would you take or are taking to promote the startup ecosystem further? Like one Mahakumbh is one event, but apart from that, some other steps.
I mentioned some of the funding streams that we do, the fund of funds scheme, the seed fund scheme. We also have a credit guarantee scheme, which has only recently started in the last year. So far, we've provided some 65 plus loan guarantees from this fund for startups. As you are aware, in the procurement space, we've also tried to create some window for them by trying to reduce some of the eligibility criteria such as prior track record so that they can bid for government contracts. The Defense Ministry is an important example of a procurement window for startups which has done well. We would like to expand it perhaps to other large procurement departments. And finally, the intention is that over time the startups should be increasingly provided a share of in government procurement so that government ensures that these startups become national and global champions. And finally, when it comes to one particular segment of startups, which is the deep tech startup community, which is very vital because that creates the IPR, the intellectual property, which actually leads to global champions emerging out of the startup community. Government is trying to create a separate deep tech startup policy with attendant supportive measures, and hopefully that will also see the light of the day in the not too distant future.
So talking about startups, and a few days ago there was a meeting of finance minister with Fintech, especially
Yes.
you were also part of that. That one monthly meeting that is going to start. Apart from that, some other steps would you take so that the startup or the ecosystem which was concerned over certain things happening and their addresses or concerns are addressed then?
Yeah, so that meeting with the Honorable Finance Minister, where I was also present, Secretary from Electronics and IT, and the Secretary DFS, the Financial Services, were present. I thought it was a very reassuring meeting. It clarified a lot of doubts in the community. They went back very reassured that government will try to proactively engage with them to ensure that they are they are fully in the picture when it comes to changes in compliance guidelines or issues of that type. Whether they have doubts and clarifications, they can engage with RBI through this monthly meeting. And we also, the Honorable Finance Minister also made it clear that in other areas as well, whether it is FDI sectoral caps or in other areas, we should try to proactively engage with them to provide a facilitated sort of compliance for them. We shouldn't, I mean, it should not be seen as a penalizing of if there is some minor or technical violation. The idea is to engage with them and to facilitate compliance so that they are able to comply sometimes with requirements that they may not be fully aware of.
So one last question. PLI scheme, we have seen the success of PLI scheme. Definitely manufacturing got a boost in that PLI scheme. You have maintained earlier that there is no, currently you're not thinking about broadening the or bringing more sectors into PLI scheme. Will you maintain that? Currently you're going to focus on the sectors which you have announced PLI scheme for?
So as of now, the focus is on making sure that the existing PLI schemes across 14 sectors, 10 departments gets implemented well, really starts taking off. In many sectors, it has taken off. We've generated almost 9 lakh crores in sales, almost 3 lakh crores in exports. Actual investments have already come in to the level of 1 lakh crores, with another 2 lakh crores, which are in the nature of commitments that will come over time. So yeah, the scheme has started taking off. There are some sectors where there is a gestation period or there is a time lag with some minor changes required, which also the government is considering. So yes, we'll focus on implementing the current PLI schemes well for the time being before we look at expanding it to other sectors of the economy.